Chaturda chakrata varte, Chaturda chakrata bhugate, Sayambhav sabang sarva dasarva jugate, Dakalam pranasi dayalam sarupe, Sarayange sange abangang vibhute. Chaturda chakrata varte, Chaturda chakrata bhugate, Sayambhav sabang sarva dasarva jugate, Dakalang pranasi dayalang sarupe, Sarayange sange abangang vibhute. Chaturda chakrana varte, Chaturda chakrata bhugate, Sayambhav sabang sarva dag sarva jugate, Dakalam pranasi dayalam sarupe, Sadayange sange abangang vibhute. Chaturda chakrata varte is the mantra for the heart center. It gives direct energy to it. When you are sinking, if you know this mantra and can sing it, you can totally recuperate yourself. Yogi Bhajan. Well, I make no claim to be a good singer, but there you have it. The mantra given to me by one of my former yoga students, who later actually became quite a good teacher, and she had this memorized and can sing it just beautifully in an enchanting way. So I had listened to her say it to me, and then she gave me the link, and I started listening to it on Spotify. This was a couple of years ago, about a year and a half ago, really, where I was in an excruciating amount of torturous, emotional, mental, psychic pain, and was really, really in a bad way, really unable to break the addiction to the toxic relationship. So the pathology was acute, and I needed a spiritual solution. So she gave me that mantra, and I still use it. And I think I just got the pronunciation right. I just got the pronunciation where I could sing along with the Spotify on there. So it's a Santam Kaur, who is the singer on that. I think you can find that pretty easily. SNATAM space KAUR. Sorry, our. Santam Kaur. I think I'm saying that right, but I'm probably not saying it right. Anyways, the idea today that I want to talk about is the Compassionate Recovery Project, and the ability to heal oneself and help others heal through things like the 37 practices of the Bodhisattva, but not exclusively limited to those. So I want to read you a little bit of what the definition, the working definition that I have so far of the Compassionate Recovery Project, and we'll talk a little bit about the introduction and the first of the 37 practices of a Bodhisattva. And I'll talk to you a little bit about a meeting format that you can download right now and start a meeting. So remember, all it takes is a resentment and a coffee pot. And you too can start a group. So here we are at CompassionateRecoveryProject.com. Compassionate recovery is a new paradigm for healing. It's open to anyone with any degree of attachment and uses solutions from any system, tradition, technique, meditation, or treatment. The meetings will be dynamic in that they can focus on specific topics, addictions, principles such as life skills, meditation, yoga. Nonviolent communication is a regular format, or can change topics based on the needs of the individual or community. So the idea of this is that I've been in AA for 34 years, and I've recently gone back to meetings after not going for a while. I went really steadily for a solid year, but I couldn't find the healing and the connection for the trauma that I was experiencing. People were kind of, they didn't really connect with me. So I just sat on my hands and stayed sober, but I was really missing something. And well, it was a rough holiday season emotionally, just going through the days and the events, and everybody, I'm driving my Uber, and I'm taking people to their families, and everyone's talking about all their big groups and their parties and all this. And I was like, oh, well, kind of by myself. So I got the 2 dogs. I was dog sitting. That was really heavy in terms of the amount of work involved. So I didn't have much time to stew in my isolation. Really took care of all the dogs. And then they went home, and I cleaned the house thoroughly and made everything nice again. And my cat and my dog are now, free to stretch out. But, during that time, I was really having a hard time. So I just went to AA because there was a good group. I showed up and I got my 21-year coin. There was a nice girl that I had seen at a coffee shop back in the summer at another midnight meeting I was going to at the time. And she dug up the 21-year coin for me, and it was nice because it made me feel welcome and wanted and all that kind of good stuff. So I was pretty cool with that vibe and that energy. So I started going. But the thing is, after a few meetings, I'm kind of like, oh my God, it's the same fucking thing. It's the same. There are the bros, and there's the kind of the mentality, and there's the group think and the group talk. Now, at the same time, I'm not putting it down, because at the same time, there are miracles. There are like miraculous spiritual transformations which occur. And, if you don't think that recovery needs spirituality, good luck. Go ahead, have fun. I have no idea how you would recover from a serious addiction without a spiritual experience of some kind. And this is something I've been working on since 1984. So I can tell you, I've seen enough experience in my own and others' experiences that have been shared, and pretty big proponent of the spiritual work. So, as you know, well, the idea is there's a spectrum of attachment which leads to addiction. So, on one hand, the Buddha talked about attachment as the root of suffering, and on the other hand is attachment gone wild. The manifestation of, meth, oxy, whatever your dealio is. So on one hand, you've got that solution, you've got that problem, and on the other hand, you've got the solution. So in AA, it's like alcohol only, 12 steps only. And I know the literature says, and we're supposed to be open, and many people are open to different things, but it's not really that open. It's really a groupthink kind of a deal. And I've been in meetings all over the country for many years, different parts of the world, same book, same reading, same thoughts, different faces, different periods of sobriety. I've watched so many people come through and go through the process, and it's great. And there's a lot of power in it, but it's missing something, It's missing something. It doesn't have the full spectrum of dealing with attachments. So anybody can deal with attachment, and even if you're not a full-blown addict, And there are people who have met the criteria for substance abuse disorder at one point in their lives, but given sufficient reason. Like a girl I was just talking to the other day, she smoked meth in high school and was really, into it, and for like 3 or 4 years, until she burned herself. Somebody dropped the pipe on her leg and scalded her, and then she quit. She was like, fuck this. She quit. And we're having breakfast, and I was like, that's the difference between an addict and a non-addict. Because for me, the reaction would be to get high more, to get higher, to go at it harder. My response to the pain is to go deeper into the addiction, So that's the difference. But we're all on a spectrum, and if you sit and meditate for 20 or 30 years, you might notice your attachments. A lot of people don't notice them, but we have I participate in Core Power Yoga for over 8 years now, and hardcore power vinyasa. And there's a lot of very sort of privileged, affluent white girls and a lot of stuff going on in yoga that, it's a powerful practice, but a lot of people are just super unaware of how deeply attached they could be. And occasionally, if there's somebody in recovery, well, you can really see it. So this has been my whole position, for 10 years or more that I've been working with the 12-step Buddhist and the retreats and groups and everything in my own recovery, is that if you're an addict, you understand the first thing the Buddha taught. Boom, easy, simple, done, move forward, go. And if you're not an addict and you understand Buddhism through the lens of the addict, you can understand your own attachment and your own suffering. So the addict is, I think, uniquely predisposed to the opportunity for enlightenment and realization. It's my opinion. It's my experience. I've been doing it for a while, so it's kind of valid for me. It's based on a lot of stuff. So we do have that. So we've got the spectrum of attachment. So the compassionate recovery meeting, anybody's welcome, and you don't have to be an addict. You don't have to identify as an addict. You don't have to identify as anything. In fact, it's probably better if you don't identify. Just say your name. And there'll be a little bit of a timer, like a 3-minute timer or something for sharing, and the group leader will remind you if you veer off into Never Never Land and what have you, just to kind of keep some structure and some sense of continuity and healing space, and not have it just be a vomit bowl, a dumping ground for people. I mean, because I've gone to a lot of ACA, Adult Children of Alcoholics, and Al-Anon for families of addicts and alcoholics. And a lot of times people just go without the structure of AA in the sharing. There's kind of a lot of really long, just drawn out, blah, 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 and it gets old. So the idea of compassionate recovery is to have a meeting where you're reflective, where you're open from any level of attachment, but there's a little bit of structure so that you can focus and the group can attain something from the experience. And that's on the problem side. And on the solution side, we have the openness, the inclusiveness. So compassionate recovery, a universal, inclusive, and trauma-informed approach to recovery. So we'll be working with principles, and meetings will be based on principles. For example, honesty, or integrity, or fear, however you want to go. And you work with any reading from any literature. It's not some conference-approved AA only, or Narcotics Anonymous, this or that, or whatever. It's just, you read from whatever you want. Just stay focused. There's some meditation involved. There's mindfulness. It's a huge, huge part of the reflection process. It's based on compassion. And so we'll talk about throughout the book and throughout the program, we'll talk about what compassion is. And if you go to CompassionateRecoveryProject.com, I will be putting up format after format after format, different meditations, different healing guides. There will be audio. I'm working on a training with Stanford to create compassionate recovery coaches that can kind of help meetings and support meetings and members in treatment centers as well as in the community. So if you're interested in that, contact me. And if you're interested in contributing some of your thoughts or ideas or a particular type of format, or if you just have any thoughts at all, just shoot me an email, darrenblittlejohn@gmail.com. And before I forget, finally, I remember to give you this. Google Voice, you can leave me a message. 619-796-6748. 619-796-6748. So you can leave me a message. It'll be transcribed. I'll have the notes. I'll be able to use it. Positive feedback, negative feedback, whatever you want. Just talk to me and see what your thoughts are on these kind of things. So that's the idea, is that we can use solutions from any system and any approach. We'll have a different definition of addiction and a different definition of recovery. And while addiction is going on a spectrum from attachment to addiction gone wild, or from attachment to addiction, which is attachment gone wild, we'll also have on the solution end of things the spectrum of recovery. So it will be short, middle, and long-term recovery. And what does that look like? It's totally ignored in the recovery field. It's totally fucking ignored. Trust me, I've been in this 34 years. This needs to be addressed. What does long-term healing look like? And like people saying, someone said in a meeting last night, well, there's people that have 31 years sober and they don't go to meetings anymore, and it's hard for me to talk to them. And well, how about maybe people outgrow the same monotony, the same rehashing, and the same rewounding? You know what I mean? How about people need something more powerful, something longer term, something like, I don't know, hey, Buddhism offers that, deep metaphysical Christianity offers it, yoga offers it, So let's start with the importance of the 37 practices of a bodhisattva. This is practice number 1. And I got this from Tulku Sanak in Santa Fe. And I was, again, on my hands and knees on one of my escapes from San Diego, trying to run away from the problem. And I went to Santa Fe, and I was just sobbing over there in the group and dealing with the excruciating, abuse and all that bullshit. So I just went to the Lama, and someone translated it for me, and he just basically hit me over the head with this book. He basically tossed this book at me. So I'm gonna, there's obviously a reason for that, right? There's a reason for it. So Lamas, Tibetan masters know what's up. I'll tell you, don't underestimate them. They know what's up. So starting, Namo Lokeshvarya. You see that all phenomena neither come nor go. Still you strive solely for the benefit of beings. Supreme Guru and Protector Chenrezig, to you I continually bow with body, speech, and mind. The perfect Buddhas, sources of benefit and happiness, arise from accomplishing the genuine Dharma. Since that in turn depends on knowing how to practice, the practices of a bodhisattva shall be explained. And you can go into Shantideva. There's a lot. Almost all of Tibetan Buddhism talks about this, and there's a lot of information, a lot of texts on there. But we're just talking from this little book, which I got. This is from it's from Taiwan. Anyways, doesn't really matter. So, number 1, now that you have obtained the precious human body, the great boat so difficult to find, in order to free yourself and others from the ocean of samsara, to listen, reflect, and meditate with diligence day and night is the practice of a bodhisattva. So this is a little different than AA recovery right there. This is a little different from any kind of 12-step approach. To listen, reflect, and meditate. Turn your obsessive, I had Lama Yangtze Rinpoche told me one time, turn your obsessive mind to the Dharma. Just apply it. My old friend Hugo from AA back in San Jose used to say that. Just use what you've got to your advantage. You're already obsessive. You have single-pointed focus in your resentments. So use your single-pointed focus to focus on something that's going to bring you forward. So you see that all phenomena neither come nor go. That means the realization of emptiness. This is the first turning of the wheel of Dharma. There's nothing. There is nothing substantial. We have got to restrain our body, speech, and mind for a long enough period and generate enough merit in this view, in this sutra view, in this renunciation view, which is one view, right? And we won't go into all this super deep all the time, but I'm just kind of giving you the introduction here. The basic view. The practice of the Bodhisattva starts with that view. And the practice of, say, the Thai monks and the Burmese and Cambodian, a lot of even the Zen, really, a lot of the earlier versions of Buddhism start with the renunciation and move to the experience of the Prajnaparamita, or the experience of emptiness. Well, the Mahayana starts with it, okay? And the Mahayana is one of the yanas, or vehicles. So I've written about this, and we can talk more about all these things as we go. But we start there with that realization that there's nothing. Knowing that, still you strive solely for the benefit of beings. Solely. My entire focus, in the meeting last night, we talked about God consciousness, and we talked about this difference between being self-centered. Common sense, which is self-centeredness, thus becomes uncommon sense, which is other-centeredness. Quote me on that, right? I'll say it again. Common sense, which is self-absorption, narcissistic addict ego, becomes uncommon sense, which is the focus on another alcoholic, they say in the program, or the focus on other beings, as we say in the Bodhisattva and the Mahayana. This becomes the focus solely. Train with diligence. Chenrezig is Avalokiteshvara, or the Bodhisattva of compassion. And I have many initiations and long-term connections with this in various traditions. which you don't need to start, but this is part of the Vajrayana. Tibetan Buddhism is Vajrayana, so that's a different level than the Sutrayana. There's more to learn about that than we have time for right now. So, just continuing. To you I continually bow with body, speech, and mind. Continually bow. Staying in that mindfulness 24/7. If you can't practice any mindfulness, you can't stay in mindfulness 24/7. You can't continually bow. You can't solely work for the benefit of beings if you don't have diligence, if you don't have wisdom, if you don't have compassion. So, the perfect Buddhas, sources of benefit and happiness, arise from accomplishing the genuine Dharma. So this is the genuine Dharma. According to this teaching, this is the genuine Dharma, to work solely for the benefit of beings, to alleviate suffering, to alleviate suffering. To alleviate suffering. This is the sole practice. This is your entire mission on the planet every moment of every day as a bodhisattva. Every step you take, every move you make. But the Buddha's not watching you. This is not a guilt trip. This is not Catholicism, right? Since that in turn depends on knowing how to practice, boom, here's the practices. That's it. It's all right there. It's pith. I mean, these are pith instructions. Precious human body, and you have to understand the 6 realms, the 6 lokas, the different dimensions of reincarnation, the hell realms and the hungry ghost realms and the animal realm, the human realm, jealous God realm, and God realm, Did I cover them all? I don't think I missed one there. But, it's, you got to understand, the human opportunity. This is the human opportunity. It's 2019. This is the opportunity. Step on the boat. You're on the boat. You are the boat. The great boat. This is the Mahayana, the great vehicle. So difficult to find. Think of the cosmos as infinite. Think of the opportunity, how rare it is to actually be a human. Think of how, just meditate on space. Look in the sky. Look at the number of beings as Robina used to say, my teacher, how many bugs are there in your yard? 100,000, 100 million? I mean, how many beings are there that are not human? Well, we can read, we can cognate, we can meditate, we can practice, we can generate merit, we can follow teachings, we can achieve liberation, the precious human rebirth. That's what this is about. I sound like I'm preaching, but I get excited. In order to free yourself and others. See, that's the difference between the Sutrayana and the Mahayana. In the Hinayana, or lower vehicle, this is just free yourself, motherfucker. You know what I mean? Just like hold on, restrain, be good, get settled, get stable, try to get a realization, and then maybe then, when you're a Mahasiddha, maybe then you can work on freeing others. But this level of teaching talks about from the gate, day 1, step 1, practice number 1 of the Bodhisattva is, in order to free yourself and others from the ocean of samsara. Samsara is the infinite cycle of birth, sickness, old age, and death. The infinite cycle of suffering. We can see our little mini version of that with each breath we take. You inhale, you're sucking it in, sucking it in. If you don't think you're sucking it in, just don't breathe for 30 seconds and see how you feel. You suck it in, and then you got to get rid of it. It's a cycle. In and out, in and out. Attach, avert. Attach, avert. Cling, reject. Right? So, to listen, reflect, and meditate with diligence day and night is the practice of a bodhisattva. To listen to teachings, to reflect, to consider, to read, to meditate with diligence day and night. How often are we distracted? So start a meeting. Grab a format. It's very easy to start a meeting. Just find a space. It could be your living room. You could call a church or a community center. You could go to your Alano club. You can go to the place where you're already having meetings, any hospital, any treatment center. You can start this anywhere, and if you need help, I will help you. Let me just go over the format really quickly. And this is just the first format. And this is based on a meeting that I started in 2008, which it's 10 years, and that meeting is still going. I went to it last year and it had the exact same format, hasn't changed. So I just modified it a bit to make it more, because at the time I wasn't sure what the 12-step Buddhist was going to be about, and we didn't have refuge recovery then, which is all Buddhist anyways, so, and as we know, there's been a lot of problems with that group and the allegations of rape and sexual misconduct by the leader and so forth. So let's start fresh, 2019. Let's make this a very non-male dominated, not a patriarchal, hierarchical situation. Let's make compassionate recovery like us too. Let's call it us too. So the first part, read all italics aloud. Welcome to Compassionate Recovery, a universal, inclusive, trauma-informed approach to healing attachment and addiction. And the meeting is open to people with any problematic attachment or addiction. For the privacy of our members, we announce ourselves by first name only, without disclosing our particular addiction. And this basically sort of prevents people from hijacking it. Like your typical, if AA guys show up to your compassionate recovery meeting, they're going to be like, I'm Bob, I'm an alcoholic, and I'm thanks to God and this program and the fellowship, blah, 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 blah. Do you know what I mean? So this is going to kind of prevent that. It's a little bit different kind of style. And we're going to read what is compassionate recovery. Compassionate recovery is a new paradigm of healing, etc. Talks a little bit about traditional 12-step programs are normally limited to a specific problem, such as alcohol, and a single solution, such as the 12 steps. Unlike these limited models, compassionate recovery is fully inclusive of anyone on a spectrum of addiction that ranges from problematic attachments to full-blown addictions. So there's a little bit. In attachment is defined as an unhealthy bond, fixation, obsession, or preoccupation that causes a life disruption. In CR, addiction is defined more loosely as any attachment to a process, event, substance, or person that the individual wants to be free of. Hey, you decide. It's up to you. Recovery, too, is defined as any reduction, elimination, or progress on that path. One can opt to claim one or more clean dates for different afflictions or opt out of the traditional timelines and anniversaries of 12-step models. So this is totally open for discussion. If you want to do it a different way, let's talk about it. But I feel like we have this thing like, okay, I've got my 30 day. Okay, it's fantastic to celebrate the anniversaries, 30, 60, 96 months a year, and so on. But the problem with that is that when we're celebrate at a certain point, when we give up our drug of choice, at a certain point, we've got our year or 2 or 5 years sober, say from alcohol, and then we don't really have a way to kind of deal with the recovery from the other afflictions, from the deeper things that are going on, the deeper attachments that we might still have. So we're not just celebrating one, you might celebrate how long you've been in compassionate recovery, for example. Okay, well, you might even have multiple dates. So I haven't had an alcohol in 5 years. I haven't had cocaine in 7. I haven't smoked a cigarette in 3 months. However you want, it's open, but it isn't just, one date for one thing. Is basically all I'm trying to get to with that idea. The format is 5 minutes of a breathing meditation followed by a short reading, and then sit silently to contemplate the topic for 5 minutes, and then ring the bell at the end of the meditation period. And then call on people to share on the topic, and everyone is quiet and respectful as always. And then we have that breathing meditation, which is a little instruction here. Sit with your back straight, feet on the floor, etc. You can read that. And ring the bell to end the 5-minute meditation. Then the leader selects and reads a short topic, just small, because if it's more than a paragraph, people are not going to get it. You just have to take a line, a sentence, a couple sentences, okay? So grab something. It can be off Instagram. There's just a shit ton of hip sobriety, all kinds of newcomers on Instagram. And by the way, find me on Instagram, 12-Step Buddhist. Say hello. I love getting the Instagram messages. So, you can use something short. And then the leader shares last after everybody else shares. So you don't sit there and pontificate. You consider it and you learn and you meditate on it, and then you learn from everyone else, and then you share what you've learned, basically. So we have a 20-minute meditation then, and this can be changed. This can be dispensed with. This can be like once a week you do this. You can have a meditation meeting. You can do the same thing every week. It's totally open, but the idea of this original format was that we meditate for 20 minutes. First we do the breathing meditation just to get focused, then we consider a topic, and then we actually meditate where we just sit quietly and think about that topic for 20 minutes. And then read the topic again without commenting, and the leader shares last after reflecting on everyone's input. And then we have a closing. After that, we have a closing dedication. We dedicate the merits of this practice to all suffering addicts. May everyone be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May everyone practice compassion for self and others. Keep coming back. It works if you surrender. That can be changed as well. So I may make that better somehow, but I'll make that more universal. But this was the first format I came up with a while ago, and it's been working, so I don't want to change that one too much. And just grab the format, print it out. You can read it off your phone and start a meeting. Let me know how I can help. Okay, so you can find my books on Amazon. Darren Littlejohn, The 12-Step Buddhist. I'm working on the 10-year anniversary edition now. That should be submitted really soon to the publisher. CompassionateRecoveryProject.com. You'll find a lot of this ongoing stuff here. You'll find a course coming up. You can always go to the 12stepbuddhist.com for blogs and updates and audio meditations, this podcast, etc. But hey, like and share. Anyways, it's over 30 minutes, so that's enough out of me. Happy 2019, everybody. Peace out and namaste.